Hello, Ironbound Jim. Welcome to another Flowing into the Week with Tai Chi Chuan and Qigong with me. My name's Stan Rockwell. In a little bit of a different spot. We've had a lot of rain last few days, so I tried to get in a place where it was a little drier. And hopefully the light's a little better here. I want to start off by getting our posture, our balance, and our breathing, setting up our foundation. Remember the 70% rule, only 70% of whatever you're capable of at this moment. Never lock a joint, so you never fully extend your arm, never fully extend your leg. Always have some bend in it, but never fully compress anything, because either way can cause you to hurt a joint. You want to take care of those. So you have your feet about shoulder width apart, as parallel as you can get them. And again, any of these, if you have any issues, you adapt it to however you're feeling at this moment. Think of it again as learning the principles, staying inside those principles like you're playing jazz. You don't have to look exactly like anyone else. You won't even look exactly the same from one day to the next if you continue to practice these things. So as best you can, your feet are parallel, about shoulder width apart, toes pointed straight ahead. But if you have to have your toes out to the side, that's okay. And you feel that connection with the bottoms of your feet to the bottoms of your shoes, through the shoes to the floor. You can even imagine through the floor down into the earth. Because remember, all this is based in nature. It's based in Taoist philosophy. In Chinese philosophy, which has the yin energy in the earth, the yang energy in the heavens, humans are in between. We have acupressure points throughout our bodies, but there's a couple in the center of each forefoot. The K1 acupressure point, the yang chin, translates as bubbling well. It's the first acupressure point. The kidney meridian, you can visualize an energetic connection there, just sealing you down into the earth. You can visualize yin energy of the earth, clean energy coming up into your body through those points. Also, for balance and for grounding, you can visualize points in your feet that are just rooting down into the earth. So it can be the ball of the foot at the base of the big toe, the ball of the foot at the base of the little toe, in the center of the heel, just kind of rooting down into the earth. Some other systems use 3 points along the outside of the foot. Whatever works for you. For me, this one works best because it's more like the old milking stools that never rocked, regardless of what surface you put them on. Those 3 points just stayed steady. If that causes your feet to flatten out too much so your knees start to bow in like that, just raise up the arches of your feet so your knees line up with your toes. In everything we do, knees and toes are going to point in the same direction. If you're in something called the bow and arrow stance, knee in the front's going to be lined up with the toe, knee in the back's going to be lined up with the toe, and they're both going to be behind the toes. So if you're to drop a line, it'll go straight down and it'll be behind your toes. Again, you don't want to extend your knees beyond your toes. That puts pressure on your knees. Just settle down into it. Feel yourself starting to be equally balanced, left, right, front, back, and even to the corners. So you're getting in harmony with gravity and with the earth. You have another acupressure point at the crown of your head. It's crown chakra in yoga. It's the Ba Wei, the meeting of 100 places, I think is the translation in Chinese. It pulls you straight up, gives you an energetic connection up to the yang energy of the heavens, stretches you upwards, makes you taller, stacks your vertebrae on top of each other, and as it does so, it starts to make changes in your posture. The tops of your hips become parallel to the floor, your tailbone drops down a little bit, your hips move back a little bit, flattens out your stomach and your lower back. Again, if that doesn't feel comfortable, just relax into whatever feels best for you. Tops of your shoulders are parallel to the floor and they relax down the center line, so they're not up here like you're all stressed out, not slouch forward like you're feeling sad, not pull back like you're rigid and standing at attention. They're just relaxed down the center line. Your shoulder blades flowing down your back. And as that line lifts you upwards, it lifts the back of your head, it tucks your chin in a little bit, it may even move your head back just a bit to get your head nice and balanced on your shoulders. And what you're aiming for is to be doing the least amount of work necessary to remain upright. So your muscles are relaxed, but they're ready. They're in a eutonic state. Hypertonic is all stressed out, that's too young. Hypotonic is laying on the floor in Shavasana, too yin for this. You wouldn't be able to stand up. Crane standing in the water, waiting for the fish to come by, very attentive but very relaxed, but ready to move whenever you need to. You can visualize a pendulum hanging down from that bow-away spot, going right straight down through the middle of your body, through the perineum, and it hits the floor right in the middle of your foundation. And our foundation is the rectangle we're standing on right now. It's an invisible line we visualize around the outsides of our feet. We want to be centered over that. So even if I shift all my weight into one foot, that pendulum's going to hang down right in the middle of this foot. So right now that foot is my foundation because it's holding all my weight and I want to be centered over it. So when we do balance, that's how we move. If we move to one side, the pendulum moves over, it's centered in this foot now. But we're in the middle, it's right in the center. If we're in a bow and arrow stance, about 70 or 80% of the weight's in the front foot, 20 or 30 in the back, so it's going to still be that invisible line around the outsides of the feet, but it's going to be still within the parameters, and it's going to be closer to this foot than this foot, but so that our weight is centered over our foundation. It does a lot to improve your balance. It makes it harder to get you off your feet. You relax down into it. And once your body is in harmony with gravity, your internal organs can function in a more efficient way. So we want to focus on our breathing, and our breathing is kind of the center of everything. In yoga, it's prana. In this, it's chi. And chi translates as life force energy, but it originates kind of with the steam rising off rice. The mist in the mountains, yin yang even, originates with the light side of the sunny side of the mountain and the dark side of the mountain. So again, everything is based in nature. So chi, we want to be able to have it flow through our body unobstructed and unrestricted. So we want to have a minimum amount of tension in our body. And our breath is a major way of doing that, and our body language and facial expressions. But we start with the breathing. We inhale through our nose down to our diaphragm. We want to inhale so we feel an expansion around down here. As we get older, we tend to breathe from up here. As we breathe from up here, we don't breathe as efficiently. We have to struggle to breathe to get the oxygen in, so we breathe faster and harder, which tells our brain we're in a fight or flight state, so our stress levels go up. If you want to get yourself in that rest and digest, or even tend and befriend version, you breathe from down here. You bring the oxygen down, pulling the diaphragm down, just like we did when we were first born, when we were little kids, up until about the age of 6, when we started to change how we breathe. Inhale through your nose. As you inhale through your nose, you filter the air, you warm it up a little bit, you add some moisture to it, you feel it come into your nose, down your throat, down into your lungs. And on the exhale, you pull that pelvic floor up to move as much air out as you can, so that on the next inhale, you bring more air in. On the exhale, you can sigh if you want. With that sound, you let whatever tightness is inside, whatever tension is inside, just flow out with the breath, and it dissipates, leaves you. A couple of other techniques for the breathing is, one, to touch the tip of your tongue to the roof of your mouth behind your front teeth. In Chinese medicine, that's connecting governing vessel, conception vessel, energy channels that run up and down the front and the back of the body. In Western medicine, it's disengaging the muscles in your jaw. Oftentimes when we have stress, we clench our teeth. And if you press your tongue to the roof of your mouth just right, you can't clench your teeth. On the exhale, Make that last a little bit longer than the inhale. On the inhale, our blood pressure actually goes up a little bit. On the exhale, it goes down. So we want to emphasize relaxation response. So if you're doing a count, you can count to 3 or 4 or 5 on the inhale. And depending on the count, you would count to 5 to 8 or 9 on the exhale. So just breathe at your own pace. I typically don't count on the breaths anymore. If folks have asthma, sometimes if they do these really long breaths, they can induce an asthma attack, and don't want to do that. So again, you pay attention to your own body and what it's telling you, and you breathe in a way that's bringing you most in contact with that relaxation feeling. So just breathe at your own pace, making the exhale last longer than the inhale. And as you breathe, you feel any tightness or tension across the top of your head, around your forehead, your eyes, your ears, your jaw, any tension around your mouth, just breathe into it and let it soften. If there's any tightness around your neck, down into your shoulders, in your biceps and triceps, and your elbows, forearms, wrists, hands, fingers, just breathe into it and let it soften and let it relax. In your chest, your stomach, all the way down your back into your buttocks and hips. Any tension anywhere, just let it soften. Down your hamstrings and thighs into your knees, shins, calves, in your ankles and feet and toes. If you feel any tension, any tightness anywhere, just let it soften. Let it relax. And just breathe. I'm going to start at the top and work our way down. If you hear any sounds, there's some folks doing yard work out because it has stopped raining. That's okay. You just notice that it's there and let it pass. The same thing with thoughts that come into your head, because that's inevitably going to happen. That's the default for our brain, is to have thoughts just kind of constantly running through. In mindfulness, you're not trying to control that, you're trying to be with that. Let it be on its way, and you get back to focusing on your breath or your movements. So you can focus on the feeling of the air as it comes down and goes out. You can put a color to it. You can notice the temperature change, the moisture change. Anything that brings you to where you are right now. Even just feeling again how your feet feel on the floor, grounding yourself. So inhale and let your arms come up. Turn your hands towards you as you press in. It's like you're pressing your head back a little bit. Drop the elbows, you turn the hands, and you press out. You feel the arms extend. There's a principle of song, and it's expansion and contraction. Arms come down as you exhale. Again, it's a yin-yang. It's inhale and exhale. Inhale as those arms expand outwards. Arms get longer, but again, you keep softness in the elbows. Exhale as the arms come down. You tuck your chin just a bit to feel some movement in the back of your neck again. Inhale and exhale. And inhale and exhale. Come back to the center. Let your arms come up again with your palms facing. One hand drops down, palm faces towards the floor. There's some bend in the wrist. You have major acupressure points in your wrist, and when you bend your wrist like that, you activate that acupressure point, so we want to do that. Palms facing down. When you bring your fingers over where your fingers touch are Laogong points, or the work palace. And again, that faces the earth, so you can bring up energy into it. Doesn't matter if you believe that or not. Other arm folds over. Laogong point lines up with upper dantian. You know chakras from yoga, and this you only need to remember 3: upper, middle, and lower dantian. It translates as elixir fields or energy fields. So we want to keep the Laogong point and the upper dantian connected and keep this shoulder nice and relaxed. As you turn 70% of your range of the motion to that side, moving just your head and your arm, you come back to the center. Lower arm comes up, palms face briefly. Hands basically trade places in a mirror image, and you exhale off to the side and inhale to the center. And back to the center, arms come down, shoulders relax. Another one for your neck, you turn your head to one side, so again, 70% of your range of motion. Let your chin drop down, roll across the bottom. You don't press it down. It comes back up to that center line, goes straight across. Exhale across the bottom. Inhale across the center. And then we'll just reverse and do the same thing on the other side. Gonna move on to the shoulders, and the first one is shoulder rolls, which typically you just roll like that if we're going to do them forward. But if you have issues with your rotator cuffs, you can rotate your arms so your palms are facing behind you, and you make the circles with your elbows, which moves your shoulders a little bit, but again, you don't do anything that's going to cause you any sort of issues. You need to be able to smile every movement you do, and if you can't smile, you back off until you can. So first we'll do shoulder rolls to the front. And then to the back. And then one that's used to balance out energy, but it's also used for the shoulders. As your arms come out, first your palms are facing down. Remember, Laogang points bring up energy, yin energy from the earth. They turn upwards to bring in yang energy from the heavens and fold over. And again, you can use this for visualization. You visualize pushing clean, healthy energy down through your body, through that byway. And you can press out stagnant, gray energy or chi through those bubbling wells into the earth and have it dissipate away from you. You inhale on the way up to bring in clean air, and exhale on the way out to expel the used air. Bring your arms up with your palms facing. Turn your hands so your fingers are pointed straight up. And let's do one more for the shoulders where you bring your arms in. If you have your forearms touching, but if that causes you issues, you just relax your elbows out like that. But it's going to inhale as your arms come back. Exhale as they come forward. And then when their arms are parallel to your shoulders, just pause there and extend out. But remember, keep some bend in your elbows. But that principle of song, arms extend out and then come back. It's an exhale and an inhale. When your fingers are pointed straight up, just pause there and hands tilt towards you and away from you. And then towards and away from each other. Loosening up the wrists, and then circles one way, circles the other way. Bring your hands in and clasp your hands, and then again, just rotate the hands around, loosening up the wrists first in one direction and then the other direction. You may find one way feels more natural than the other, and that's normal. Holding a ball, just inhale and exhale, keeping those Laogang points lined up. You can visualize an energy ball between your hands. As you're pressing in, it's pressing against your hands. All emotions are like you're moving through a gentle resistance anyway, like you're moving through water. As your hands are moving apart, it's trying to keep your hands together. Then just pause, and keeping your palms lined up, just rotate your hands. We've talked about this one before. If you have a ball like the size of a volleyball or a soccer ball, you can use that for this exercise. It's keeping those Laogong points lined up, but still moving your hands around, and it loosens up the joints in your arms. And just kind of shake your hands out a little bit. And then bring them to your waist. As you inhale, let your fingers expand outwards. As you exhale, they relax back. So inhale, song principle expansion. Exhale, contraction. And then just flex your fingers. And I'm going to do a little bit more with the fingers. Have fists at your hips. And you don't squeeze tightly. Remember, fists in Tai Chi are gentle fists. So your fingers come in, your thumb goes over the outside, either across the fingers or between the index finger and the middle finger. You never put the thumb on the inside. Tai Chi is a martial art. And if you punch with your thumb on the inside, you break your thumb. Thumb is always on the outside. So you're going to reach out to punch as you do. Remember that principle of song. Arm extends outwards. Open the hand. Fingers extend. Curl the fingers. Come back in. It's an exhale and an inhale. And again, just flex your fingers, recheck your posture, your balance, and your breathing. And then hold the ball, one hand on top, one hand underneath. Hand underneath rotates out, presses up, upper hand presses down. As you do, there's a little bit of a turn on that center axis. Center axis is that line that runs from the byway down through the perineum to the center of the foundation. It's an inhale to the center. Exhale out. And that one was for the back. In traditional Chinese medicine and Qigong, it's also massaging internal organs, and massage is a big part of Chinese medicine and Qigong, and external and internal. Internal is when you're kind of doing the silk reeling stuff, but massaging internal organs. This next one does that as well. Where again, we're holding the ball. We're going to rotate on from the hips up. Everything from the hips down stays nice and still. So I've got this hand on top. Rotate until the hands line up with the hip on that side, then turn the hands around, keeping the palms facing like we were doing earlier. Come to the other side. If you want, you can synchronize your breathing so you're inhaling in one direction, exhaling in the other. Back to the center. You're going to put the hands to one side like you're going to press into a wall. And these next couple are for the hips, but they also give you some balance work. So shift your weight over. Remember that pendulum's in the middle of this foot, because this foot is holding all my weight, so there's no weight in this foot. It can just reach out, so I feel a little bit of stretch in the hip on that side. Back to the center, over to the other side. It's an inhale to the center and an exhale out. Back to the center. Palms are facing downwards. Check your posture and your balance. Shift all your weight into one foot. Either foot, it doesn't matter. Again, this is for the hips. Hands go back just a bit. Foot goes forward. Heel touches. Hands come back to the center. Foot comes back to the center. Forefoot touches. Arms go forward. Weightless foot goes back. Forefoot touches. So it's like your leg is the pendulum and your arms are the counterweight. Your body is the clock, and all your weight is in that foot that's solidly connected to the earth. Again, you can synchronize your breathing. And you do have some bend in your knees so your foot can go relatively straight. You don't want it swinging all out there because that kind of throws your balance off. Shift your weight into the other side. And if you're working on balance, you don't have to touch your foot down at all. Just do it slow and easy. And keep yourself upright. You don't want to accidentally go into Warrior 3 pose. Come back to center. If you do, that's okay. You just won't be moving your hip in the way we're trying to move your hip. And there's a world famous Tai Chi Qigong teacher also incorporates some yoga into what he does. Actually, there's a couple of them now. But Francis Garapoli, I think, and he actually does go into Warrior 3. So whatever works for you. Couple for your knees. Fists at your hips, toes pointed towards the corner, a little bit of space between your heels. Shift your weight into one foot. Weightless foot rotates on the forefoot. It goes forward, other arm counter, balances. If you want, you touch your forefoot down, or you can just let it hang out there. It's an exhale and an inhale. And the next one for your hip, we're going to go into that forward bow and arrow stance or archer's stance. So you shift your weight, you step up. It doesn't have to be very far, but you want some space. Like I've got about a little bit more than a board's distance between the inside of this foot and the heel of this foot. Because if they're lined up like this, I wouldn't have any balance going left and right. So a bow and arrow stance is to try to have yourself balanced in all directions. In this country, we typically have the front foot straight ahead, back foot at 45 degrees. In traditional Chinese versions, they would have the back foot straight towards that way. But our knees typically don't handle that very well. So you're going to shift your weight, step up, and punch. And you really can focus on that principle of song in this one. This is the one that gives me the biggest stretch of any of the ones we do. And I occasionally give myself a chiropractic adjustment when I do this one. Back to center with your feet parallel, shoulder width apart. For the ankles, shift your weight into one foot and you just go heel and toe with a weightless foot. And then on the other side, you have a little wren that lives in a bush there who just popped by and was singing. Don't know if you could hear. And then outside the foot, inside the foot, touch as close to the same spot as you can, maybe where a couple boards come together. Same thing on the other side. And then being very gentle with your ankles, knees, and hips, you shift your weight into one side and you just circle first in one direction. And then the other direction. Same thing, other side. And then the other way. Come back to the center, and we're going to do some pouring where you pour from one side to the other. You visualize warm, salty water, the same salinity and temperature as your body, going from the earth up through that bubbling well, through every cell of your body, then down and out the other side. Again, cleaning every cell. Same thing up the other side. And just breathe. It also gives you a chance to notice how the bottoms of your feet feel as you shift from one side to the other, which again is some balance work, because a big part of balance is keeping those connections between the nerve endings and the muscles in your body and your feet with your brain, and being aware. And then after pouring, we do the swing where you turn on that center axis from one side to the other. As all my weight goes into this foot, this heel comes up a little bit. Arms swing just like tether balls. And the hand and back gently hits the buttock just inside the hip. And you can close your eyes and visualize yourself in a place where you feel very safe and calm and secure. Closing your eyes makes you a little dizzy. You just keep your eyes open and look straight ahead at something that's not moving. And you can do this for however long you want. Another part of Qigong is tapping or drumming on acupressure points. So this also incorporates that. So the next part is drumming. So as you swing, arm comes up and it taps. You run your hand down your collarbone. There's a little hollow there just as you get to your shoulder. That's a lung acupressure point. So it strikes there. With the tips of your fingers very gently. And then at the base of the rib cage, inguinal crease or the qua, just inside the hip. And then lower dantian, two or three finger widths below the belly button. And 2 or 3 finger widths inside. Really the enteric nervous system. Middle dantian is heart, energetic field, heart chakra. Upper dantian is that third eye or the system associated with the electromagnetic field around your brain. And then just back to the swing. And just come back to center. There are a number of Qigong systems that also focus on the thymus gland right in here, part of your immune system. So they have you tap like this on it. And again, you can do it for however long you want. And then you can massage there as well. They see what they call your primordial qi, or the qi inherited from your parents, is being in the kidneys, so you can get your hands really warm, or as best as you can, and just hold them over the kidneys, relaxing your shoulders. And just massage. Tai Chi Chuan and Qigong, they see the mind is leading energy and energy is leading the movement of the body, and that you can move energy in your body with your mind, and you can certainly move blood flow with your mind. There's an experiment you can do. You hold your hands out, and your goal is to have one hand be warmer than the other. And you can have somebody else check your hands to be sure. But you do that with visualization. So you can visualize like a really warm cup of coffee, hot chocolate, hot tea, something really warm in this hand, and you just focus on that. You don't have to focus on the other hand at all. And if you practice enough, you really can make one hand warmer than the other. First time I learned about that was back in the 70s with a book called The Ultimate Athlete. And I had a friend who could do that really well, and I discovered later on that was one of the methods that was used for trying to treat migraine headaches because of the vascular flow in the brain associated with that. And sometimes my watch talks to me. You really can't alter your blood flow. In Chinese, though, they figure when you try to force energy to flow to one part of your body, it doesn't work so well. So think of it like opening energy gates instead of pushing energy. You kind of visualize energy going to certain parts, like if you have an illness that's affecting one part of your body, you can visualize, and this has been used in Western medicine for over 40 years as well, visualize healer cells going to whatever part has an illness at the moment. So again, all of these, or many of these, you can practice anytime, anywhere. Breathing, you can practice anytime, anywhere. Remember, for emotional regulation, we express our emotions with our face. So if you're trying to relax fairly quickly, you can do the breathing, and you can also focus on relaxing all the muscles in your face. If you're focusing on balance, you can do your weight shifts from one side to the other. And if you're like me and you're waiting at the microwave sometimes, you just let one foot float up. And you hold it for however long you feel comfortable. And then the other foot floats up for however long you feel comfortable. You can add a couple extra. You can let the knee come up. The one where you just let your foot hover off the ground, you can do that anywhere. Nobody's going to notice. Heel comes up. Heel comes up. Just come back to center and let your fingers face each other, and just 5 breaths at your own pace, and begin. If you remember in 5 elements, this is earth, and earth gives rise to metal, which is open and closed. So inhale and exhale. Come back to earth. Metal gives rise to water through condensation. Keep your center over your foundation, your head over your foundation. So instead of leaning forward, your hips go back, and you lower down however far you feel comfortable, 70% of your range of motion as you exhale down and inhale up. Water gives rise to wood. Rotate your hands so your fingers are pointed towards the front. You make a circle that comes up. Hands are about even with your chin. As you exhale, inhale as they come back down. And then what gives rise to fire, rotate on that center axis just from the hips up. Everything from the hips down stays still. Left hand lines up with left hip. Right hand comes up on top, so it's a sideways open and close, just like a bellows. Inhale and exhale. We're going to turn to the other side. As we do, we're going to keep those Lagong points lined up just like we were doing earlier. Back to the center, and then massage. First down the back. Can massage the kidneys a little extra, and then up the front. Arms come around in front, shoulders nice and relaxed, like you have your arms around a tree. You're in a horse riding stance. And this is a standing meditation, standing pole or standing stake. You can hold this again however long you want. It's doesn't look like you're doing much, but it's a nice exercise, honestly. If you do have that bend in your knees and your back, hopefully is straight. You're exercising your legs and with your arms up, using the weight of your body. And just breathe. And then when you're done, balance everything out. Inhale up, exhale down. And at the end, the left foot comes in, and it's kind of the couple of traditional things. One, oftentimes people will bow. They also have the left hand flat with the thumb folded over. The right hand becomes a fist, and they come together as a sign of respect. Thank you for joining me. Stay safe, healthy, namaste, and well. Remember to practice, and that you can practice anytime, anywhere. Even at night when you're trying to get to sleep, you can focus on the breathing, focus on bringing yourself to where you are right now instead of all those racing thoughts about what you have to do tomorrow. You can tell those thoughts, yeah, you're looking out for me, but we can take care of that tomorrow. Right now, I need to sleep so I can do them well. Sometimes that works, sometimes not so much, but focusing on the breathing and doing a body scan and relaxing all the muscles in your body oftentimes can work pretty well. So see you next time. Bye-bye.